Item hash SCP-3476. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3476 is to be kept in a locked box, with the handle obstructed by a cubic cast. The cast may only be removed with permission from Level 3 or higher personnel. D-Class personnel that have been hosts of SCP-3476-1 in the past are to be used as hosts again in testing if available. Otherwise, D-Class personnel with no notable skills or any classified knowledge are to be used. Prior to transforming into SCP-3476-1, the host's limbs are to be restrained. Suppression of SCP-3476-1 is only to be performed through application of sedative gases, and subsequent removal of SCP-3476. Any information yielded by SCP-3476-1 during interviews is to be recorded. Description: SCP-3476 is a wooden walking cane, 1.2 meters in length. Carved alongside the handle is the phrase FROPA, MIT-LIB 1. SCP-3476 is made up of an unknown type of wood, showing higher than normal levels of hardness and durability, as well as reduced flammability. Any damage inflicted upon SCP-3476 repairs itself over a period of time ranging from 3 days to 4 weeks, with more serious damage taking longer to repair. Damage inflicted upon SCP-3476 will appear upon manifestations of SCP-3476-1. If any humanoid entity holds SCP-3476 by the handle, they will instantaneously transform into SCP-3476-1. SCP-3476-1 is an elderly, balding Caucasian male, estimated 80 to 90 years of age, standing 2 meters tall and weighing 113 kg. SCP-3476-1 most commonly wears corduroy pants, leather loafers and a checkered button-down shirt, although other clothing has been observed, regardless of what the host was wearing before transformation. The transformed state ends upon SCP-3476 being removed from SCP-3476-1's possession for more than 8 seconds. Hosts are able to recall all events occurring while transformed, witnessed from the visual perspective of SCP-3476-1, but have reported no control over these events. Testing has shown that SCP-3476-1 is a single recurring entity, and retains memories from all appearances. Additionally, SCP-3476-1 gains all knowledge and memories of its host upon transformation, and this information is not lost upon the transformed state ending. SCP-3476-1 is also immune to physical injury, as any damage inflicted will instead manifest on the host's body upon exiting the transformed state. Injuries also tend to increase in severity, consistent with how severe the injuries would be if experienced by a person similar in age to SCP-3476-1. This transference only occurs with physical trauma, and does not redirect the effects of ingested materials such as sedative gases. SCP-3476-1 has repeatedly demonstrated a short temper and mild annoyance for most Foundation personnel or authority figures in general. Despite this, SCP-3476-1 has been shown to be willing to cooperate in several cases, specifically those where it is in a position of leadership or control, or when acting against other groups it shows distaste towards. When not in the aforementioned position, SCP-3476-1 will attempt to breach containment whenever possible, often utilizing SCP-3476 as a melee weapon against personnel while verbally berating them. In addition to this, it will use any useful information or skills gained from its host to further its escape, such as passcodes gained from personnel. The one exception to SCP-3476-1's temper is when it is dealing with younger or inexperienced persons, during which time it attempts to take on a teacher role and shows much more patience than normal. Recovery. SCP-3476 was recovered during a raid on the Serpent's Hand warehouse. The hostile operatives were in the process of transporting several anomalies, including SCP-3476, SCP, and SCP. The raid was successful, but all hostile parties escaped. SCP-3476's anomalous properties were discovered when a Serpent's Hand member attempted to use it to steady themselves after being struck in the head, seemingly unaware of its abilities. The transformation into SCP-3476-1 then occurred, followed by SCP-3476-1 attacking its former captors, alongside any Foundation personnel it mistook as such. Due to assimilating knowledge from its host, SCP-3476-1 was able to perform several contoglyphs to aid in its battle, and was noted to scream, "I'll take you to the library, Snake," before forcefully inserting SCP-3476 into a Serpent's Hand operative's left nostril. SCP-3476 was successfully contained when the detonation of a grenade knocked it from SCP-3476-1's hand, undoing the transformation.